Good evening and welcome to the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast on FingerLakes1.com and FingerLakes1.tv. It's Monday, July 7th, 2014, and this is episode number 4. I'm your host, Jim Sinacropi, and I'm joined in studio as usual by the Big Easy, Bob LaPrade. Thanks for joining me up here yet again tonight, Bob.
Good evening, Jim.
And also, a guy who I grew up playing golf with, all the way from Virginia. It's Mr. Excitement, Rob Miller.
Good to be here, Jim.
Glad to have you back in studio. You've been up here as a guest on other podcasts, but
third or fourth time.
But primarily, you're a good fit tonight because love the game of golf.
That I do.
And of course, as I mentioned, we grew up playing golf, working on the golf course together, played in a lot of tournaments, when we were younger. And now that you live in Virginia, you actually came up for a tournament.
That's right.
The 2-man at Dutch Hollow.
That's correct. That's probably the number one reason why I'm up here, Jim.
So we'll get into that a little bit. We've got a great show this week. Short putts. How to cure the yips. I want to know because I'm suffering. Bob's Pick of the Week, another great website, golf-related website. Hank Haney says Tiger Woods doesn't care as much as he used to. The Dutch Hollow 2-man in Owasco is this weekend, and everybody in this studio is playing. One of the best tournaments going, if you ask me. We'll give you the fourth hole of our Finger Lakes Dream 18. And my Zen tip of the week makes use of a quote from 1925. So full show on tap tonight. Remember, subscribe to us on YouTube. Search for FingerLakes1.com. Subscribe to that channel. We're on iTunes, and we should be on Stitcher.com within the next 48 hours or so. Or you can catch all our episodes at FingerLakes1.tv. So, Bob, it's becoming pretty evident to me that the first thing we're going to lead off almost every episode with is, how we did this past week, since we were here. And I know playing together on Sundays, we didn't play in the same group this week, but I know that you shot an 89, and that's not up to your standards.
No, absolutely not. Actually, I didn't play Sunday. I wasn't there.
So what, what happened?
You know what? It was one of those days where tempo and rhythm wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And I think a lot of people that golf often can probably relate that the timing and, after you have a few bad holes, you start searching and things go bad.
Yeah, golf's one of those games where some days you just don't have it. You got to accept it. Come back the next day like you did tonight with a 39 in league.
Right, yep.
Yeah, I mentioned on the last podcast that I've been pretty consistent shooting between 78 and 82 almost every time, like for the last 15 rounds. And it's frustrating because I've played well enough to shoot better than that, but I mentioned the yips. There's been rounds where I've shot 78 with 3 putts missed of 2.5 feet each. And that's hard to handle. So anyways, this Sunday, I'm playing pretty good. I putted well, didn't miss any short ones, didn't even have many short ones actually. I think I only had to make 1 or 2. Everything was either inside a foot or outside of 5. But no 3 putts, was playing okay. I think I was 5 over par heading into 15. And so, I want to put a good finish together and shoot 77 or better. And maybe I shouldn't even been thinking of my score, but for a reason, I hit my driver on 15 where I'm 10 to lay up, and I make a bogey. If I just lay up, I probably make a par, maybe a chance at a birdie. And then on 16, I come back with a par, so I'm feeling pretty good. And then I miss the green on 17 and bogey the hole. And then on 18, I made a 7 and shot an 80.
Right.
So no matter what I do, I end up right in that scoring range. So how about you, Rob? You play any golf this week to prepare for the 2-man here at Dutch Hollow?
Not this past weekend, but I've been playing a decent amount down in Virginia, about once or twice a week, and playing a few weekday mornings. So, it's really the same issues I've had all my life, but I have definitely been playing, so I can't use that as an excuse for any high numbers.
Well, the tournament at Dutch is a two-man scramble, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But first, I need some help, Bob,
Mm-hmm.
with the short putts.
Yep.
I mean, I consider myself a pretty good putter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to feel that way about yourself, though, when you miss like 2 putts that total less than 5 feet in distance in the same 9 holes.
Right.
It's embarrassing. And it's obviously mental, you know. And it is something that's happened to me before. Now, what I do is I go to the putting green, I drop 4 balls around the cup, and I make them around. That way you get every break, you know, at like 3 feet. I'm not talking long putts here. Then I do it again. And when I was younger, I used to try to make 100 in a row. Now I go for 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't quite get there the other night. I don't have as much time to practice as I'd like. But, you know, I was knocking in 18 at 20, you know, just bang, bang, bang. And I think that's the best way to work out of it. But, you know, what have you ever had that situation?
Oh, yeah, sure. And normally what cures it for me is exactly what you said, going out to the putting green. And I kind of have a ritual when I go out there, and I'll start out with doing ladder drills, and that's just, you know, hitting the first putt a good distance and then the next putt a little bit shorter and try to keep them evenly gapped. And then I'll do those 6 to 3 footers and just try to pay attention to what my miss is. If I'm missing left or missing right, and then make adjustments from there. What I find is really effective when you're playing and you're finding out you're missing those shorter putts, and I'm talking 3 footers and inside that, is take a really long time to line up your putt, search for your ball marker, those kind of things, because then your opponents, they'll give up and just give it to you.
That's not a bad strategy. How about you, Rob? You ever struggle with the short ones? Nah, probably not. You're pretty much just line up, make everything, right?
Well, no, and it's funny, you know, I think most people who have played with me are my 2 biggest misses, as Bob says, is off the tee when I'm off. My tee shots can be sprayed. And then short putts, I've never really been good at 3-footers. And so to me, when someone has the yips, that by definition means at some point they were good from 2 or 3 footers, and now they have the yips.
Right.
Maybe we haven't played much recently, but I mean, I have always struggled with short putts and, you know, decelerating and closing the club face. And tonight will be educational for me because, I mean, that is, if you've been playing with me the last couple of years, I mean, I don't know how many times I hit it in there or hit a good first putt. And it's just like, I know I'm not going to make this 2.5 footer, and you walk off with a bogey. So, unfortunately, I don't got much to say how to do it other than.
Well, one technique that I want to try next time I'm able to get to the putting green is shorter follow-throughs. You know, you don't need to stroke it so much. You just bring that ball through and stop it short almost. And I've seen guys actually decel on those short ones. Just get it on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not talking about decelling.
Like intentionally decelling.
Right. A lot of, on short putts, only on short
You're
putts.
talking to after impact, or
It might be after impact, but it appears like they're just kind of dropping the club into it. And
mm-hmm.
But a shorter follow through, I think, because most of my misses, I can feel it. I mean, you know, it's mental, and I'm either closing or opening a little bit as I follow through. And so if you kind of just take a shorter follow through, you probably don't even think about turning those wrists.
So you actually feel it in your hands.
Yeah, when I hit a short putt, or any putt for that matter. But it usually happens on the short putts especially, or at least the short putts are the ones where you're supposed to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the pressure comes from. You look like an idiot if you miss it, and you've already basically done all the work you need to get that par, and you just need to knock home the 2.5 foot putt. Or, a lot of people just pick those up or longer putts than maybe they should. But, if you're playing in any type of tournament where you got to putt everything out, then all of a sudden reality sets in, and you realize those 2.5 footers you've been picking up for the past 5 years are difficult.
Right.
Even at best, you're not 90%. That's 1 in 10 that you miss. I mean, that's at the best.
But how many times has someone given you a 2.5 footer and you go up and you just slap at it and you knock it in? You knock it in more times than you miss it.
Well, I know a guy who used to go up to it and stand on 1 foot and tap them in, and he made almost all of them, because by standing on 1 foot, he was taking the pressure off. a little bit taking the pressure off, and it also, I suppose, made him focus on something other than the putt. He had to keep his balance.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So he didn't fall over.
Well, all I've learned, and usually, and this is my problem, is it's up here. I mean, if you look at a 2 and 2.5 footer, unless you're above the hole and you just can't hit it, or if it's a huge break. But for the most part, if you hit a 2.5 footer in the center of the hole with enough speed, there will be not enough break for it not to go in. So my biggest issue is all between the ears, and I get up there, and I know all I have to do is execute. And pick that line and execute, and I cannot. If you are not 100% sure and confident that that's the line, and I do that decel, and I think when you decel, you either open that club face or close it. And that's my biggest issue, is just lack of certainty. Because even if you're not certain, you got to act certain when you take that back. Because you see a lot of 2.5 footers they hit that back of the cup and drop in because they're confident. And boy, I'll just hit that little decel thing, and it'll just it's ugly to watch. It's painful, especially if you had a great hole, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's it. You're just, one thing that this honestly happens to me probably once a year at some point, and I work my way through it. And I remember last year, when I worked through it, I was actually pretty solid for the most part for the rest of the year. And I just kept thinking of it as punching the clock almost, where, okay, now I got 18 inches for my par on the second hole. I got work to do, but I'm just going to go do the work and punch the clock.
Yeah.
And then do it again. And you got to understand going into a round of golf, especially if it's a tournament setting where you are putting everything out, that you're going to have to make 10 of those,
right.
Throughout the day. And so, knowing you got to do it, just punch the clock.
Yeah, we probably all been there at some point, but you get so bad where you really wish you'd rather have a 5-footer because they'll have a 35 foot. Yeah, and because once it gets to that 2.5 foot, I go, there's my wheel. Here we go again. 5 feet, you feel just like there's a little pressure off for some reason
because you aren't expected to make all of them.
Yeah,
from 5 feet, you're expected to miss. Legitimately for the average single-digit amateur golfer, you're going to miss 50% of your 5-footers.
Yeah, I've always been amazed how low that is, yeah.
Just a quick tip for those short, and I didn't come up with this myself. I read it somewhere. For those short putts, 2.5, 3 feet, is most cups have like little dings or dents in them, or you can pick a blade of grass.
That's a great tip.
If you focus on that small little dent that you see in the cup, if your line's inside the cup, that seems to take or intense your focus to
on a
where
smaller target than the hole.
Right. Yes.
Like a tee.
So there is and that's a great tee on the putting green. Our drill on the putting green is to throw a tee in there and putt to that before the hole. Then when you get on the course, the target's bigger.
Right.
But that's a great tip, and that's actually a Zen tip because it's focusing you on your target. And really, your target isn't the whole hole. It's the point you want the ball to cross.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned that it has to be inside the hole. If you got a breaker, a 3-foot breaking putt that's going to enter at the side of the hole, you can still pick the exact blade of grass on the cup that you want the ball to go over. And that helps with your feel. So when you're over the putt and you're lined up, you are a little more intently focused on a target that's actually smaller than the true target.
Right.
That's a great tip.
I think we can all agree, though, the mental part is such a great part of the game that there's times where you're just like,
absolutely,
I'll be lucky to hit the hole in this. I just know I'm going to miss it. And that's when you're in a very bad place.
Absolutely.
Right, you got to shake it off.
Shake it off.
A guy named Dave Rutz, who you guys both know, actually gave me a good tip on short ones a long time ago. And I think it was before a club championship qualifier, and we were talking about, how we're going to have to make you got to putt everything out. Everybody's been giving putts all year. And he says that it doesn't matter if it's a 8-inch putt, if it's less than, except for like the most legitimate of tap-ins, he goes through his routine, which means look at it from behind, step up to it, pick your mark, take 2 practice strokes, put the putter down, and knock it in the hole.
And that's when your opponent will give you the putt because it'll be like, this is ridiculous.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, you're right when you got to put it out.
And then, the other thing about the wickedness of missing the short putts is it will just destroy your short game because now all of a sudden, instead of trying to just chip it up into a 3-foot circle, you're trying to like get it up there to a couple inches so that there's no pressure
You're
anymore.
pressing.
And that's difficult to do, and it makes you tighter on your short game. And then you feel bad about yourself because, we just had a basic up and down, and you walked off the green with bogey.
Right.
And then that snowballs. And
there's people who can just knock them right in, and that'll wear you down. You just want to give up, Jim.
Well, if it's match play situation,
they'll wear you.
Knowing that your opponent is not going to miss one of those.
He hasn't missed one of these in 8 months.
Right.
Yeah. So, and one last thing to remember about the short putts is that professional golfers have missed a lot more important short putts than we'll ever miss. So there are a million people in China couldn't care if I missed a 3-foot putt. But, the first one that comes to mind is Scott Hoke in the 1989 Masters. He's got 2 feet to win the Masters, and he misses. Shocking. Mm-hmm. And, of course, his name rhymes with choke. So, there you go.
Well, it's funny we always say that, but that actually was to win, right? Which is even worse.
To win the Masters, and then he lost in the playoff.
Ended up losing the playoff to Nick.
Never won a major.
And correct, never really had a chance again, as I recall.
2-foot putt away from winning the Masters and wearing a green jacket.
But we can all understand.
Oh yeah.
That hole looks like
that
hole looks like a toothpick, and under pressure.
Yeah, that's why it's amazing these guys do it sometimes. But then even the great Ben Hogan at Augusta in 1946, Hogan needed a par on the final hole to get into a playoff with Herman Kaiser, the great Herman Kaiser. After a missed birdie attempt, Hogan lined up a 2-footer to tie, which would have sent it to a playoff, and he completely missed the hole. I mean, like, he absolutely choked. He put a terrible stroke on it. And that's Ben Hogan.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys remember in 2009 during the FedEx playoffs, Brant Snedeker needed to make the cut to go to the next event. And I think he needed 2 putts from like 15 feet, and he 4-putted. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's uncomfortable to watch that clip. I checked it out on YouTube, actually, as I was preparing for the show. I searched for...
And yet disturbingly self-satisfying watching that happen. Because you're like, it happens to them, too.
Well, that's what you got to remember when you're out there in the course and you're struggling with it is, hey, I think the biggest problem comes from the fact that we think that that's an easy thing to do every single time. And when you realize and accept that you're going to miss one every now and then, but go about each one with the intent to give it your full focus and accept that you're going to miss one every now and then. You're just gonna.
Yep.
So I'll be working on it. We'll be and going to this 2-man scramble at Dutch Hollow this weekend. I can certainly envision a time when my partner is going to miss one of those. And now all of a sudden I'm up there with a 2.5-foot par putt, knowing full well I haven't been putting well. And that's going to be a test.
Yeah, that's what makes this format great, I think.
Well, 2-man scrambles are great because par means something still.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And yet it's still fun, scramble-oriented. But
it gives us guys who are all like 5-6 handicap guys, right? It gives us the chance to play a golf course like a professional would,
Yeah.
because having that partner in the 2-man, you get to put together a full round as a team, like a PGA pro would if they played that course. So, I mean, what was it last time you played at Dutch? You guys shot a first round 65, I think.
66.
66, and
Nice.
when's the last time you shot 66?
Yeah, no, it does. You have to play well, but what's great about the format is you have to play well. But you're right. You get that. You feel like a pro because every little miss, if your partner's also playing well, usually it's covered. And yet, though, your partner gets up in that tee and hooks it in the woods, you're out there by yourself.
Not a scramble
so
anymore.
that's why it's so much better than a 4-man or, I just think it's a great format. You still got to play real golf, fundamental golf.
4-man's a putting contest and a birdie making contest. So you can make 5 pars in a row in a 4-man scramble and you're like get depressed.
Yeah, that's...
So,
right.
So I mean, par still means something in the 2-man. And Bob, you like 2-man scramble? I take it.
I love them.
It's my favorite format.
Well, let's get off the short putt topic and move on in the show to our first segment, which is Bobby's pick of the week. don't have any intro music or anything for the segment, but I think we need some though to like get in and out of some of these segments. But Bob, what do you got for your pick of the week?
This week we have golfwrx.com. It is a golf-oriented website with tech articles about equipment, instruction, pro golfers. Has forums like a lot of your golf websites. And it has a fantastic gallery of Holly Saunders, if you know who she is from the Golf Channel.
No good.
Yeah, playing golf out there. I think it's probably the most popular photo session they have on there. But
Sure.
it's a great website. If you're into the forum type thing and instruction, different techniques to hit golf balls. There's all kinds of great stuff there.
I was checking it out when you sent it over to me and said this was your pick of the week, and I like the opinion section actually.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool.
Yep.
And the other thing that was cool is this screenshot that we have up on the screen right here for our people who are viewing this podcast. Was taken Sunday night, and it has they talk about the driver Angel Cabrera used to win the Greenbrier yesterday. So
Yeah.
that tournament ended at like 6:30
Yeah.
Sunday night, and this site was updated within the hour with this article about Cabrera's driver.
I don't know how they do it, but they do that every single week, either with the LPGA or the PGA. They'll have what's in the bag. They have a whole what's in the bag section for different players, so you can. And I don't know how anybody gets close to these bags to take these pictures of the clubs. Maybe they ask, or I'm not sure what they're doing. But if you're into that sort of
Telephoto
thing,
lens.
if you're into golf club porn, that's your place right there.
Of course, we wouldn't even be able to tell you if it's right or not, but I'm sure it's very darn close. Maybe they
Yeah.
have a certain amount of players already set up, and
That could be.
I think that the PGA players register. They list their clubs they're using each week.
that's
But
possible.
they've got actual pictures of the
So it's
clubs
got to be just somebody out on a tee,
with a camera or something.
right? Well, you can zoom in on that, or who knows?
I don't know. It looks like they're standing right over the bag to me, but
Maybe they got a drone.
yeah, you never know.
So that's Bob's pick of the week. That's golfwrx.com.
Good job, Bob.
Thanks.
And let's move right along now to see what's going on in the news. Local golf news, and we also touch on some national topics and international. But on the local front, Camillus Country Club, the clubhouse, restaurant, pro shop, all destroyed by a fire on Wednesday. The fire also destroyed 50 golf carts, which were parked outside the building. Well, luckily, they did have some golf carts located in a nearby building, which wasn't damaged by the fire, and they were actually able to reopen on Thursday. And the owners plan to have food and member services back up and running within the month. Now, here in Seneca Falls, we can relate to this. Our clubhouse burned down in 2000, was it?
98, I think.
98, it might have. It
No?
was, whenever it was.
You go to the history page of Seneca Falls Country Club to find out.
SenecaFallsCountryClub.com will have
Yeah.
it actually has pictures of that fire. But
You guys ever played Camillus?
oh yeah, they have a really nice 4-man tournament in the fall.
Yeah, I never have. Yeah.
Yeah, I played there in that 4-man. Yeah.
So what we did at Seneca Falls for one whole year, we had a giant tent installed in the parking lot, and a portable bar and a grill, and that's how the season went. And as a club, financially, made a killing that year. There were no utilities, There was a
Right. We'd pull the cars up at night and turn the lights on when it got dark.
Yep. So, and then after a year, then following season, the new clubhouse opened. So I imagine it'll be the same type of deal for Camillus, and
We'll never understand why they knocked the pro shop down, but that's another topic.
that is another topic for another day. So, 2-man scramble at Dutch Hollow, Saturday and Sunday,
Woo-hoo.
and boy, do we love this tournament. This is my 26th year in a row.
I was in a row.
in
Not
a row.
one year
I've never
you
missed one since I was 16 years old.
Wow.
Wow, that's hard
That's
to believe.
impressive.
I don't know how impressive it is. It's
Hey,
just a
that's-
But
fact.
not 1 year you're out of
You're on the
town.
street.
I showed up late for some weddings some years and stuff like that, But It's the best. It's a great scramble course. It's a great format, two-man scramble. It's flighted after the first day, so you're always in it heading into the second day. They pay good in the flights. There's a big skins game. No, they do like a pair-mutual betting of some sort, but and a really nice steak dinner.
Right.
But boy, yeah, I got friends like Rob who came from Virginia, another friend from Raleigh, North Carolina, another friend from Cincinnati, Ohio, another friend from Louisville, Kentucky, another friend from Irondequoit.
Yeah, baby. It's a great time.
So, these guys all come into town for this tournament. We'll catch a round at Seneca Falls together.
We come for the course or the tournament, not for Jim.
But this weekend when we're all up there, it's kind of like 1992 again.
Right.
On the rock on the 18th hill there.
And a full field for the event, which is impressive. A lot of these two-day tournaments over the past several years have kind of gone by the wayside. This one continues to fill up and succeed. And, I love the course for a two-man scramble. There's some reachable par fives. This is not a course you necessarily would want to play on your own ball too often because there's a lot of risk-reward, a creek running through the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite hole at Dutch, Rob?
Well, I've been trying to remember. I mean, obviously, number one's always been kind of stuck in my...
Usually the starting hole, par 5.
Starting hole, and it has the water in front of the green, par 5, short par 5, but then the green is like a 40-degree angle.
Yeah, it's a very difficult green.
Yeah, and I have never done well in that hole that I can remember. And it's always that first hole unless you're starting on the back. So that jumps out at me.
Great par 3s.
Yeah, I think 12's the one where you can either lay up or you can really try to boom it over that creek. And and what's the one hole that's like a hard? It's a par 5, but it's a hard dogleg left.
It's the fifth hole.
Fifth hole, and you can score on that hole too. So it's a perfect scramble course, because you can, if you're hitting it well, you can really get some low numbers out there.
Right.
But also you can make some big numbers. Even in the scramble turn, you can make some 6s and 7s.
Now, Bob, I know 12 is your favorite hole.
Yes, it is.
It's also a hole you probably wouldn't want to play on your own ball.
No, it's what I like about the hole is when you're standing on the tee, even in a two-man, you have to think, how are we going to do this? Even though you've played it before in a two-man scramble, and you may have a strategy where one guy tries to bomb, the other guy tries to lay it up. But a layup's never always guaranteed, right?
No, you got to get it down there.
Because you have to get it down
like
there.
5-iron.
Right, yeah. So it's a great scramble hole. It's a great hole on your own as well.
Mm.
Yeah, on your own, you're usually laying up every time.
Right, yeah.
And then usually we'll leave you with like a downhill, side hill lie from about 150.
Yep.
Yeah, some hills, the course, the greens are not easy at some of them. So
yeah,
it's just
especially the number one, as you mentioned.
Man, I remember
when
that.
they put that pin up in the top right hand corner. If you're left in pin high, that's not an easy putt.
Right.
I can't tell you how many 6s or maybe 7s, but at least 6s I walked off that whole
I don't think you made any 7s there. Maybe once in a while, but yeah, I can.
You hit it in the water, and then you have to drop, and then you hit it over, and then you chip down. I mean,
you
it
don't
can
want
get
to lay
ugly.
up. That's the thing about that hole. It's a par 5, right?
But you don't not want to lay up.
Generally, one of the two you guys are going to hit it down there to about 175, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's just a par 3 from there, you're not going to lay up on a 175-yard par 3 from the middle of the fairway just because there's a big water in the front.
I never do, and then I'm dropping the ball.
But yeah,
for my fourth shot.
It's not too difficult for two people to chunk it right in the water.
Yep.
The other thing about Dutch I really like is the par 3s. Great par 3s. The first one's hole 4, which is over a creek. Yeah, a lot of creeks involved on this course. But
is it a creek or a creek?
I call it a creek, but it's an elevated green, willow tree on the right, and the creek meanders around the left side of the green, and it's a 175-ish yard shot. That shot's actually tougher than the second shot on one, to be honest with you. It's a smaller green, and the trouble goes left, and there's a tree right. I mean, there's not much margin for error. The next par 3 is a straightaway 200 or so yard par 3, big green. Not much to that one.
Just long.
Difficult, yeah. So if you're not hitting the green, then par's in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 9th hole, which is just a bastard because you just get done with hole 8, par 5, and now you go on it. You par is tough on 9. Straight uphill.
About 165.
165. Yeah, well, I think it's like 165, but it's so far
uphill.
It's another
plays
club.
Longer. Yep.
And they can move the tees on that hole. They can change the distance to like 20 yards depending on where they put the tees.
Mm-hmm.
And difficult green, and that's one. If you miss the green, you're probably got a less than 30% chance of getting that up and down, even in the two-man scramble.
And you start on the back, you can walk off that hole and not have a chance to get it back. So
yeah, that's
you can make a 5 there pretty easy.
And then on the back 9, the first par 3 would be the 14th hole, which is a beautiful hole. It's probably the easiest of the par 3s. Again, over a creek, but the creek's pulled back. But it's pulled back, you know, and it's shorter. That one's only playing about 150-ish. And then the 16th hole is another 200-ish.
Yes.
It's well bunkered and a little bit uphill.
Running up the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Little trivia: I've never hit a bad shot on that hole.
Oh,
really? Well, now you jinx yourself.
No, it ain't. It can't happen. I always have a great feeling hitting a tee shot off that hole.
Well, those long par 3s, a lot of times you just got to hit a 200-yard shot straight. You know, there's not much to it other than that.
I've always played that hole well. We'll continue on for the next 10
Hey, man,
years.
that's the confidence you look for in your partner.
So we're gonna have a great time at Dutch this weekend. We'll probably be talking all about it next week on the show. A little bit more local news here, though. Dave Jasek on July 1st aced the 160-yard 9th hole at Highland Park in Auburn using a 5-iron. Witnessed by Bill Ellis and Pete Barclay. It was Jasek's 3rd hole-in-one. He aced the same hole with the same 5-iron in 1996.
He needs some new clubs.
That's what I was going to say. 18 years.
Then again, you're making holes in one. So
yeah, and he's using the same club, 18 years apart. He's probably staying fit.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, that's another good point, yes.
So congratulations, Dave. And anybody can send their hole-in-ones in to us here to read on the show. Contact at fingerlakes1.com, subject line, FLX Golfer.
Yeah, we'd like
Finger
to hear
Lakes
him.
Golf or something like that.
Him.
And Angel Cabrera wins the Greenbrier. Did you guys watch the end of that tournament?
Yes, yep. He seems like a nice guy, didn't he?
I love him. I love the big cat from Argentina.
Yeah, and he's a great background, the way he learned the game, and he was on these mini tours. It was just him, and but he's a scrapper. I mean, it's hard not to like him.
Right. Oh yeah. Two major titles.
Yeah, he won in Oakmont in 07, and I think he won the Masters. Was it 09?
Sounds about
and
right.
If you recall, it was the playoff. He was on 18. He won the Woods. He got up and down to keep it going against. I don't remember now, but
Scott Hoke.
No.
But I mean, the guy's got 2 majors. So once you get 2 majors, I don't care what ones
right.
you're in another level. So he's tough not to root for.
No, I agree.
And he can hit it long.
Yes.
For an old guy now, he's old.
Yeah.
He's in his 40s. Not look at Mickelson, Tiger Woods. Look at almost all these golfers into their 40s are falling off the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they just have a tendency to come back and win. He hasn't probably. You look at his last 3 years, he probably hasn't contended much, and then he wins again. So now he's got his.
He seems to be around there in some of the majors.
Yeah, the majors for some reason he always seems to rise to the top. Right, you see him in the top 10, maybe 12. He's always playing well in majors.
Well, speaking of not playing well in majors or not even playing in majors, what about Tiger Woods? He returned for the Quicken Loans. Missed the cut. That's his own tournament. He jumped town on Friday night. Didn't even stick around to stay for the award ceremony. His own tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Then he hasn't played since, and he won't play until the British Open, which is this week, right? Next weekend, 2 weeks. It's usually the same weekend. This Dutch, different this year.
That's true. Oh, is that right? So I guess it's later this year then, huh?
So
for 20.
Tiger Woods, and this caught my eye. It wasn't even really that big of news that I saw anywhere else, but it caught my eye. Hank Haney, Tiger's former swing coach, said this about Tiger, quote, and this is after the Quicken Open, that he isn't going to play competitively in the 2 weeks running up to the Open speaks to the fact that he doesn't care as much as he used to. That's pretty harsh, saying somebody doesn't care as much as they used to. I think it's almost impossible not to care as much as you used to, though, in a lot of cases, don't you, as you get older?
Yeah.
He's already won so many majors.
I respect Hank, but you don't know. I mean, for all I know, Tiger played the quickest zone. He's like, geez, that really ripped my back. I'm just going to try to get it around the British. I mean, you don't know what's going on in his brain. I don't think you can say he's not doesn't care. I mean, Tiger Woods cares.
As much as he used to, though.
Could have just been a test, too. He might have been testing. He might have, his...
Failed the test.
Well, he might have been just, feeling it out.
Testing physically, yeah.
I mean, the second part of this you're going to read makes sense, but to read someone's mind, you don't know what's really going on. And I highly doubt Tiger Woods doesn't care as much. I mean, he still wants to get to 19 majors.
That's not happening, though.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I highly doubt he's ready to give up.
Yeah, but Jim, there's always that, that second wind that some of these golfers get, right? I mean,
yeah, but that's just one tournament, like Tom Watson or Jack Nicklaus in A6. That's just one tournament where they, in their 40s, have come back to reclaim a little of the past glory. Tiger's got to win 5 more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. He does have to win 5, but I tell you, if I had to put money on anybody, it'd be him before
the old Tiger. I don't put money on this Tiger. Well, it's not the same.
And again, when you get with the next part of this, but I think not only does he have to win 5 more, I think a bigger fact, or at least as big, he hasn't won one now for over 6 years. So that's 24 majors.
Yeah, unbelievable.
24 majors for Tiger Woods. Mm-hmm. That is almost more worrisome, whether he's 27, 37, or 47. He's gone 6 years now without even really contending. There might be one in there that he did, maybe Y.E. Yang in 09.
No, there's one where he was like in contention heading into the 4th round and then blew up.
Well, okay.
I think it was a U.S. Open maybe 4 years ago.
Okay. But I know within the last 2 to 3 years, he hasn't even.
Hey, some of them he doesn't even enter anymore. So now we think he's just going to all of a sudden win 5.
Yeah, no, I agree that
he is done.
But I'm not going to say he's done, but I will say if there is a guy out there, it's Tiger Woods who can find a way to get it back.
I'm not. I don't.
If there's someone, I'm not saying there is, but I'm still not ready to give up on Tiger.
I wouldn't put myself on a limb to say that he's done, but you don't know. You never know.
You do never know. Hank Haney said this also. He said, Tiger's swing looked the same as it did before he left. Speaking as a fan, that was more than a little disappointing. I didn't see anything different. He was still setting up for a big slice off the tee. Other people might call it a fade, but that isn't a fade Tiger is hitting. It's a slice.
Well, what is since he left? Since he got hurt?
I imagine since Jansen.
So Hank, he wasn't working on his game. He was working to get better.
A lot of that had to be, PT work and.
I don't really understand Mr. Double H there.
Well, he's also Tiger was always making swing changes,
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of silly. A lot of people say, well, that's great. That just shows how great he is. He's already, dominant. He won the Masters by, 14 shots. But
US
now
Open,
whatever it is, he's winning these tournaments by all these shots, and he's got to change his swing because, I think that's.
You know what I think his biggest problem is? His golf shoes are dorky looking. They're white. Ever watch his
golf shoes?
My wife I don't know what's going on there.
They're cross trainers.
My wife bought me a pair of those sneaker type Tiger shoes, and
Fred Couples it looks okay, but for Tiger, we say he has orthotics on, and he doesn't know how to spell his first name.
I'm also going on this week in the Finger Lakes. It's the Women's Finger Lakes Medalist Tournament, July 9th and 10th. That's Wednesday and Thursday of this week at Corning Country Club. 165 golfers from 16 clubs are competing in the individual competition. And then there's also a team competition for first, second, and third place. And I think that's kind of cool. It's always nice when you represent your club as something like this. And participating clubs, Shepherd Hills Golf Club, Canandaigua Country Club, Sodus Bay Heights, Seneca Falls Country Club, Elmira, Lakeside, Bath Country Club, Victor Hills, Country Club of Ithaca, Dutch Hollow, Clifton Springs, Highland Park, Enwell Greens, Wayne Hills, Cortland Country Club, and Corning. So pretty cool event there.
Yeah, it is cool.
And I think that's all the news I have this week around the Finger Lakes. Any Bob, you got anything you want to add?
I just before we move on, I just want to go back a little bit to the Hank Haney discussion.
Sure.
Hank really shouldn't comment on Tiger Woods, especially with what he did with Charles Barkley. We all saw it.
I did watch it,
and he couldn't turn him around. Charles was still terrible.
I don't think that.
Yeah, but I don't know if God could have turned Charles Barkley.
That's true. That's true.
A little kink in the swing there.
Well, I just mentioned all those great clubs that will be represented in Corning this week. And that's a great segue to the Finger Lakes Dream 18, where we are up now to hole number 4. And just to refresh some of our listeners, or if you're checking us out for the first time, every week we pick one hole from the Finger Lakes. We try to keep it kind of central Finger Lakes, not getting all the way out to Rochester or Syracuse. And it's got, like, episode 1, we did a first hole. It had to be a first hole. And what did we choose?
First hole, episode
Skinny
1
Hills?
was...
No, that's a par 3.
No, we did...
It had to be a par 4.
I can't believe I can't remember.
Me either.
It's the Dream 18.
Yep.
Well, we got it documented.
Yeah.
Hole 2 was Victor Hills.
Yes.
Hole 3 was Ravenwood.
Right.
Yes.
Hole 3 at Ravenwood. And
Hole 1 was Ithaca.
oh, that's right. Great starting hole at Ithaca.
Yep.
Got some memories there.
So, hole 4 of the Finger Lakes Dream 18 is coming from Geneva Country Club. It's a 398-yard par 4, 5th handicap on the scorecard, and it's their signature hole because there's an old tree right in the middle of the fairway.
Big tree.
Yeah.
It's in the way.
There it is.
Now-
Hey, what's it doing in the middle of the fairway? It's like the 18th at Pebble.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Bob, you played in member guest there recently, and you won it. You won the member guest at Geneva with your
Yeah,
partner.
it was about 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Go
something
Bob.
like that.
How
3
do you,
years ago.
how
I
do you
think.
play that hole?
Yeah, you know what? I try to hit it down the center and hope it ducks the high branches. It's far enough out that you can hit it, and then you'll scoot underneath it on your.
Yeah, and I think I tried to. I even hit a hybrid that would chase it down and run it down, and I almost play it as if the tree isn't there, because the only part that's going to block my shot as it rolls under it is the trunk.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, you know, the 80% of the fairway is clear and 20% is trunk.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But
Sounds to
you
me
know,
like I got a 1 out of 5 chance of hitting the trunk.
it looks more daunting of a tee shot than it actually is. When I mean, you sure you could get blocked.
It's like 11 on
Yeah.
single fall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful hole to play in the autumn time. A lot of color. Trees, that's the other thing about the hole. It's pretty well lined, tree lined on either side, and in a
Right.
nice green side area. And, great greens at Geneva Country Club. Great greens.
Fantastic greens.
And it's a shame, Bob, that it's only 9 holes.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a different look. Different. If you play the front, you get a look, and you play the
Yeah,
back,
do they
you
have
get
it
a
set
look.
up with
Different tees.
Right. Yeah.
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 That's good.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Hole number 4 of the Finger Lakes Dream 18 is Geneva Country Club. And if you want to give us some suggestions for hole 5, a 5th hole somewhere in the Finger Lakes, email us at contact@fingerlakes1.com.
We dare you.
Subject line Finger Lakes Golfer. And our second hole came as a result of a listener submission. I considered a couple other great par 4s. That par 3 at Dutch that we talked about. Cobblestone has a great hole 4. It's a par 3.
Where's Cobblestone?
Up near Rochester. Victor, actually. It's in Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Great course. So send us your suggestions for a hole 5, and we'll reveal it next Monday night here on the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast. So, final segment of the night. And sometimes this spurs a little conversation, so who knows how long we're going tonight, especially with Rob in studio. But it's my Zen tip of the week, and it has to do with managing your play when you're having a bad round. And I got a quote from 1925 from Jim Barnes. He won the British Open in 1925.
Jimmy B.
And he said, and I think it's just so great that a quote from 1925 still would apply today to the game. I mean, that wouldn't be true of basketball or, maybe baseball. But anyways, Jim Barnes said, "You can't always be playing well when it counts. You'll never win golf tournaments until you learn how to score well when you're playing badly." And so that brings me to the Zen tip of the week, which is try to make your bad rounds the best they can be. In other words, we're usually out there, with the guys that we play with, and, they get off to a bad start, and they're like, it's going to be a long day, like, I don't got it today. This is going to be a bad round, or I'm having a bad round, or they get done with 9, and they're like, 44, I should have stayed home, But the trick is to, first of all, enjoy yourself, whether you're playing good or bad out there. Just enjoy the fact that you're out there on the golf course, great weather, this and that and the other thing. And the second part is take it as a challenge. There's been times when I've been 8 over after 4. And, what I'll say to myself in that situation is, well, see what kind of score you can shoot when you start 8 over after 4. So then the round kind of restarts. You're already 8 over. You're not changing it. At least you can do is maybe you get in and you shoot an 82, and you're like, I was 8 over after 4.
It's a lot like life, Jim.
Yeah, went only 2 over the rest of the way. So, a lot of that has to do with attitude, as a lot of these Zen tips do. But, yeah, it does have a lot to do with life.
Can we add to that?
Sure, yeah.
Well,
let's talk about it.
Let's talk, Bob. You mind if I start?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think, I think we've all experienced is you have that horrible start, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 over after 2 or 3 holes. And then you play great the rest of the round. Well, why? Well, a lot of times it's because you gave up. You said, the hell with it. And there you go. So that, you always got to remember, well, there you go. I let myself my mind free up, and look what I did. So, I mean, you try to, of course, incorporate that on the first tee. But secondly, though, I also heard a friend tell me once your opponent starts talking about the weather, you got him beat, So, no, but overcoming a tough start is difficult, and I think I have if my swing is a certain swing that day, I know I usually can't change it. So if I'm fading it or even slicing it, a good player will learn to somehow whack it around, or if you just don't have your game, you try to minimize those big numbers. And I think any PJ player that wins a tournament in 4 rounds, there's always that one of 4 rounds that they shoot a 72, 73, 74, but it could have been a 78. And so it's almost as important as the 66 or 65 because they minimize their mistakes. The only way to do that is to probably realize, all right, I don't have it today. I'm going to just have to, whether it's just punching it down the fairway, not going for whatever, but it's almost as important.
Sometimes you call it grinding out.
Just grinding. It's not as sexy as the 65s, but, getting in with a 74, sometimes, that's the key.
Or in their case, PJ pros managing their bad rounds is difference of thousands and thousands of dollars, coming in, 22nd instead of missing the cut.
Right.
So, what do you got to say about that tip this week, Bob? Enjoying your bad rounds and trying to maximize your bad rounds, trying to get the most out of them score-wise as you can, even though you're playing bad.
I think what gets me is when I have higher expectations off the first tee. I think that's what puts me in and I'll tell myself before I tee off, there's no expectation this morning. So that if I do have, through the first 4 holes, I'm either 4 over or 2 or 3, I keep telling myself, there's no expectations for today. So that kind of keeps my head in it. And when I start grinding if I'm grinding on hole 5, and I get in a little trouble. Because now I get a little tighter on the chip shots and the putts, everything. I expect everything to go in.
Is that what happened yesterday morning just because you brought it up? I'm curious to think if that's
yeah.
Did you have a bad start?
Yeah, I had a bad start. There was some other factors that influenced the round. But
that speaks to concentration
right.
and kind of focusing, getting all the noise out of there.
Right. For me, my checkpoint in the round is hole 5. Where am I?
5th tee at Seneca Falls.
Right. Whether I
choose tough 4 holes, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. It's a good checkpoint. Hey, where am I? How am I doing?
1 over, 1 under, 2 over.
But once I start grinding, and it's hard to say, you notice that you are grinding, and you say, you know what, I'm gripping the club a little too hard. I'm trying a little too hard, and my expectations to make that 25-footer are a little too much. So you got to learn when to back off and say, you know what, I'm out here with some great guys. let's have some fun and see what happens.
Several years ago in the club championship qualifier, which is 18 holes. It's changing this year actually, but it's 18 holes. You look forward all year to it, to qualifying and playing for the club championship. The top 16 make it, and usually the score is around 80 to qualify. And this was maybe, this goes back maybe 7 or 8 years. But I was trying to get better at the Zen golf side of things at that point. I was just kind of starting, and I shot a 45 on the front. And I remember, just going from the 9th to the 10th tee saying, geez, I should just go home. This is the worst nightmare ever. And, of course, I didn't quit. So I tee off on 10. I don't even remember what my mindset was on 10. I probably was, still thinking this is a lost cause. Hit a couple of fair shots on 10, and I leave myself like a 35, 40-foot putt on 10 for birdie. And I knock it in. And guess what? From that point on, I was back into it. I shot 35 on the back, and I qualified. 35, 45, 80, made it by 1 that year. And that was turning a bad round into a good round. But that kind of brings up another point with this managing your bad round thing. People seem to think that, that you're either going to start playing good and end or start playing bad, and between rounds. Like you show up, you're either going to play bad or you're going to play good that day. There's no in between. When in reality, you might play bad for the first 5 holes for a variety of reasons, but you can start playing good in round,
Right.
So even when I'm having a horrible round and I'm coming up to like the 18th tee and I might be 15 over, it might just be, I'm trying to birdie 18, so at least when I leave the course and come back, I'm leaving it on a good note. I just made a birdie, and all that stuff was behind. Next time I tee it up, I'm ready to go fresh start, rather than just doubling the last hole too. And
it's like making the last basket on the court before you leave.
Sure, or you might be coming down, and it's different from everybody. Maybe you're a guy who always shoots in the high 80s, and you're coming down 18, and you need to par to shoot 99.
Make it
make the par. Don't shoot the 100.
Right.
You can't. One thing I never learned, but you can't give up. You just can't give up. And secondly, you never know. You might think 80's the number, but for some reason, everyone else is out there missing putts too. And let's say you give up and you shoot 87, and you could have shot 84, and 84 is the number because just that day it was higher. You just can't give up.
And I bring the club championship at the club up a lot because it's always a great test of your game. And last year, I come in at 82, I think, and walking off the course thinking I'm out. And for whatever reason, it was a big field too, but the cut was 83.
Yeah, just
84.
84. Maybe I shot 83.
That is high for.
Yeah, so I'm thinking there's no way. I'm thinking the whole 18th hole, and I think I finished par, but I was thinking I needed to go like par birdie or birdie, or I thought I needed to do something spectacular. Walk off the course, hand in my card, look up at the scoreboard, and I was about halfway through, and I'm like, whoa, let's look at those scores. They're all high. This guy shot that. This guy shot that.
Yeah, if there's a game out there that you just never know on any given day, it's golf. Hey.
Yeah, you're right.
Even the best shoot 89s every occasion.
Yeah, you're right. I'm that last year club championship, I'm standing on 15. I'm 11 over. I figured, I was just gonna.
And this is the same year the cut was 84.
Right. I'm just gonna finish it out, and I think I shot 86, and I kind of was upset because. Yeah. I just slung the ball down 16, I slung it down 17, slung it down 18.
Trying to get in the clubhouse, get it over with.
Yeah, I figured it was. Standing on 16, I thought for sure I was done. Let's just get out of here. And
it's a tough lesson to learn. Same thing with a match play where you're putting for double and you're like, I'm out of the hole. You just never know. Your opponent goes up there and he chunks it in the water, and the last thing you expect, and now you're like, oh man, I'm in the hole.
Yep.
It's hard to learn though. That mentally,
it's hard to learn, and it's hard to do. Even if you have learned it from experience, it's hard to make the best out of your bad round. Sometimes it's all for naught, but sometimes you never know. And
you got to walk off there saying I did the best I could today.
Right. If you're concerned about shooting consistently good scores and lowering your handicap, if you're just out there having fun with your friends and drinking some beer, none of this mental stuff really matters that much. But if you're focused on improving your game and shooting better scores, then you need to know, and this again is wrapping up the Zen tip, you need to shoot, your bad rounds need to be lower just as much as your good rounds need to be lower. You know, everybody's like,
stroke's a stroke.
Yeah, so if, everybody's got that median round, which for me seems to be about 79, 80. And so I need to make sure that my 80, that I can get it in 82 and not 87, just the same way as and actually that you can improve on your handicap on the high end a lot easier than you can on the low end.
There's more strokes to improve on.
So, well, hey, boys, we really covered a lot tonight. Rob, want to thank you for coming in studio. Looking forward to playing a lot of golf with you this week and then at Dutch Hollow.
Yep, always enjoyable. Thanks for having me.
Wishing you as much success in this year's Dutch Hollow tournament as you had the last time you were up. Which was
it's going to be a tough challenge, but we'll see. You
guys did have a great tournament last time. And we were partners at Dutch for years.
Yes, we were. I guess I was part of your 26-year string there. But you got a good partner now, so.
And Bob, you this is your third Dutch, fourth Dutch, fifth Dutch?
Third.
Your Dutch and your partner Jason Peralt. That's a pretty prolific team.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me give you a little bit about our strategy.
Okay.
Day one, you go for everything. Now, most teams on day two, they try to take it a little easy and win their flight. Day two, we're going for everything.
So you're all weekend long going for everything.
Every hole, every shot.
The way I look at it is you just, go for, within reason.
Well, it's a flighted tournament, which means that technically if you shoot your worst score day one and then improve on it day two, you got a better chance of winning. But I found in that tournament that there's been, my goal for what I would consider a good round for me and my partner is about, 67, 68. That's probably our average good round. So there's been years when we shot 73, maybe 1 over par, 2 over par first day, and we're like, oh, well, who cares? We're going to come back tomorrow and be in the 6th flight, and we'll just go out there and knock it around and win. And, we might even shoot 69, improve on it by 3, and you're out of it. Whereas if we had actually shot 69 first day and we're in the 3rd flight, that 69 would have won the 3rd flight. You
People
never
still
know.
bag.
Right,
People still bag even when it's flighted after the first day.
Yeah, you never know how that thing shakes out.
That's more reason to bag, I guess. But, that doesn't make sense. It actually sets up for bagging, unfortunately.
Well, we could talk about Dutch all night, but probably time to get out of here. 9:58 Eastern time. We're usually shooting for about 45 minutes for these shows. A little late tonight with Rob in studio and so much to talk about. Bob, another great show.
Thank you.
Really enjoy talking with you. Golf every Monday night. It's a highlight of my week, and we've received such great feedback that it's even more exciting coming in here talking, knowing that so many of our fellow golfers and members down at Seneca Falls and just general golfers around the area are tuning in.
For sure.
So we'll be back next Monday night with another edition. We'll wrap up the Dutch Hollow 2-man, that's for sure. And then that will be episode 5. But so for Rob Miller and Bob LaPrade, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast. We'll be back next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, hit 'em long, not often.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com